The night the message came, the wind did not sleep. It moved through the village like a quiet spirit, brushing the tall grass, touching the round mud houses, and whispering secrets into the firelight. Drums beat far away near the old river shrine, slow and deep, like a heart remembering an ancient pain. Abini sat alone by her small fire. She was a black woman of strong bones and tired eyes, a mother who had carried sorrow for many seasons. Her hair was wrapped in a dark cloth, and her hands shook as she held a small carved phone, smooth and cold against her palm. The message was short. "Enjoy the break," my son said with a strange smile, and sent me on a dream trip. Her breath stopped. Kola, her only son. He had sent the message at sunset, then vanished into silence. No call. No answer. No footsteps returning home. Only that strange smile she could almost see through the screen, a smile that did not belong to him. The fire cracked loudly, throwing sparks into the air. Abini felt a chill crawl up her back. Kola had never spoken like that. He was a hunter's son, quiet and respectful, raised by elders and old stories. He feared the forest spirits and greeted the ancestors at dawn. He did not joke with dreams. Around her, the village of Iluayan breathed in the dark. Goats shifted in their pens. Children slept close to their mothers. Elders murmured prayers inside their huts. Above, the moon hid behind torn clouds, as if ashamed to watch. Abini stood slowly. The ground felt soft, almost breathing under her bare feet. She walked to the edge of the compound where an old iroko tree stood. Its roots rose like frozen snakes from the earth. Elders said the tree listened at night. That it remembered names spoken long ago. "Kola," she whispered. The wind answered with a low sigh. Her heart pounded. Fear mixed with something deeper, an old knowing she had tried to forget. Abini had been chosen once, long before she became a mother. The spirits had marked her in a dream, but she turned away, choosing a simple life instead. Now the dream was calling back. She returned to the fire and sat again, staring into the flames. Shadows danced like thin people with long arms. Her ears rang softly, as if someone was humming inside her head. Then she smelled it. River water. Cold. Fresh. Impossible. The nearest river was far, yet the scent wrapped around her like wet cloth. The fire dimmed. The drums stopped. The village fell into a sudden, heavy silence. Abini, daughter of Naya. The voice was not loud. It came from everywhere and nowhere. From the fire. From the wind. From inside her chest. She froze. "No," she whispered. "I'm only a mother. Leave me." But the voice continued, calm and old. "Your son walks where feet should not walk. He crossed the thin place." Her eyes filled with tears. "What thin place?" she asked, her voice breaking. The fire went out. Darkness swallowed the compound. Only moonlight remained, pale and trembling. Suddenly, the ground tilted. Abini felt herself falling, but her body did not move. Her spirit slipped like smoke from her skin. The village faded. The night stretched wide. She stood on red earth beneath a sky too bright to be real. Colors burned, gold trees, blue shadows, rivers shining like mirrors. Drums beat again, louder now, closer. This was not sleep. This was the dream road. Her heart raced. She had not walked this road since she was a young woman. Elders had warned her, "Once you return, the spirits will remember you." A tall figure stepped from behind a baobab tree. His body was wrapped in white cloth. His face was hidden, but his eyes glowed like embers. "Mother of the lost hunter," the figure said. "Why have you come?" Abini lifted her chin, even as fear shook her bones. "My son sent me," she said. He smiled wrongly. "That means danger." The figure nodded slowly. "Kola followed a sweet voice," he said. "It promised rest. It promised escape. He did not know it belonged to Nkara, the dream eater." Abini gasped. Nkara was a name spoken only in whispers. A spirit older than kings, feeding on tired souls, luring them with false peace. "Where is my son?" she cried. The ground trembled. Far away, a scream echoed, young, frightened, familiar. Abini dropped to her knees. "I will walk any path," she said. I will face any spirit. But give him back. The white figure stepped aside, revealing a narrow path glowing faintly in the dark soil. The dream road opens once, he said. You may walk it as a mother, not as a chosen one. But know this, each step will wake what sleeps. Abini stood. Tears dried on her cheeks, replaced by fire. She took one step forward. The wind howled. Drums thundered. The sky cracked like broken clay. Behind her, far away in Iluian, her body lay still by the cold ashes of the fire. Elders would find her at dawn and wonder if she still breathed. Ahead, the dream road twisted into shadow and light. Abini walked on. And somewhere beyond the veil, Nkara smiled. The dream road did not stay still. As Abini walked, the red earth shifted under her feet, changing from soft dust to smooth stone, then to wet ground that smelled of rain and blood. The air grew heavy. Every breath felt borrowed, as if the world was watching and counting her steps. Tall grass rose on both sides of the path, whispering her name. Abini, Abini. She did not answer. She held her wrapper tight around her chest and moved forward. The drums followed her now, beating from behind, pushing her onward. Boom, boom, boom. Each sound felt like a warning. She remembered the elders' words from long ago. Do not turn when the dream road calls your name. Do not eat. Do not rest. Do not believe kindness. Abini kept her eyes forward. Soon, the path opened into a wide savanna glowing under a red sky. The sun hung low and unmoving, frozen like a watching eye. Broken calabashes lay scattered across the land. Spears stood upright in the ground, old and rusted, as if warriors had vanished in one breath. She was not alone. Figures moved at the edge of the savanna. Hunters with bent backs. Women carrying children who did not cry. Kings wearing cracked crowns. Their faces were empty, eyes dull like stones underwater. Lost souls. Abini's heart ached, but she did not slow. Then she saw him. Kola stood near a dry tree, his bow hanging loose in his hand. His shoulders were slumped, his head bowed. He looked smaller, younger, like a boy waiting to be called home. Kola! Abini cried out. She ran. The moment her foot left the path, the ground swallowed her leg. Cold hands grabbed her ankle, pulling her down. Faces rose from the earth, mouths open in silent screams. Stay, they begged without sound. Rest. Abini screamed and dragged herself back onto the glowing path. The hands vanished. The savanna darkened. Kola was gone. Her chest burned with pain and fear. Mother! His voice floated on the wind, weak and broken. She followed it, even as the sky changed again. Mountains rose ahead, sharp and black, cutting into the red clouds. The path climbed steeply. Each step felt heavier than the last. Halfway up the mountain, an old woman sat beside the road. Her back was bent. Her hair was white like ash. She stirred a pot over a small fire that smelled of sweet soup and roasted yam. Abini, the woman said gently. Come. Rest your feet. Abini stopped. The woman's voice was kind. Too kind. I know you, the old woman continued. You carried water for me once. You sang at my burial. Abini's heart shook. Her mother. The face was the same. The smile was the same. Even the scar above the eyebrow. Sit, the woman said. You are tired. Your son is safe. Dreams do not harm blood. Abini's knees weakened. Tears fell freely now. Oh, Mama, she whispered. She stepped closer. The fire flickered, and for a moment, the old woman's shadow stretched long and thin, too thin. Horns curved from her head in the shadow. Her eyes flashed dark and hungry. Abini froze. You are not my mother, she said softly. The smile broke. The woman's mouth split wide, teeth long and sharp. Her body twisted, bones cracking like dry wood. Smart mother, the creature hissed. But not smart enough. The fire exploded into black smoke. Wind screamed. The mountain shook. Abini ran. Laughter chased her, cold and cruel. The laughter of Nkara. She reached the mountain top and collapsed, gasping. Below her lay a vast riverland glowing silver under a night sky filled with moving stars. The river flowed upward into the sky, connecting worlds. At the riverbank stood warriors with painted faces and spears of light. Their eyes burned with purpose. Ancestors. One stepped forward, tall and proud, his chest marked with scars of honor. Abini of Iluayan, he said. You walk where mothers rarely reach. She bowed her head. My son is taken, she said. I will not return without him. The warrior studied her face. Nkara feeds on weariness, he said. Your son doubted his strength. He listened when he should have stood firm. Can I still save him? She asked. The warrior nodded slowly. Yes. But the Dream Eater grows stronger with each step you take. He knows you are coming. The river began to glow brighter. The water showed visions, Kola kneeling in darkness, surrounded by mirrors. In each mirror, he slept, smiled, and faded. Abini cried out. What must I do? The warrior lifted his spear and touched her chest lightly. Remember who you are, he said. Not only a mother. You were chosen before fear closed your eyes. Power stirred inside her, warm and painful. The drums returned, faster now. From the far side of the river, a shadow rose tall as a mountain. Red eyes opened in the dark. Nkara had seen her. The warrior stepped back. The crossing awaits, he said. Once you enter the river, there is no turning back. Abini wiped her tears. Her fear remained, but it no longer ruled her. She stepped into the glowing water. The river screamed. And the sky began to fall. The river did not feel wet. When Abini stepped into it, the glowing water closed around her legs like warm breath. Light wrapped her body, and the sound of the drums faded into a deep humming that vibrated inside her bones. She sank. The world above disappeared. Below the surface, the river opened into a wide, endless space. There was no water here, only floating light and slow-moving shadows. The ground looked like polished stone, smooth and dark, reflecting memories instead of faces. Abini stood, unafraid now, though her heart still beat fast. Around her, visions rose like smoke. She saw herself as a young girl, running barefoot through Iluayan, laughing as elders told stories by firelight. She saw the day the spirits came to her in a dream, wrapping her in wind and calling her name. She saw herself waking in fear and refusing the call. Then she saw Kola as a child, clinging to her wrapper, eyes full of trust. Tears fell from her eyes and floated away like small stars. This place shows truth, said a voice behind her. Abini turned. A tall woman stood there, her skin dark as night, her hair flowing like river weeds. Her eyes shone silver. She wore a crown made of shells and bones. A river queen. I am Yemura, keeper of crossings, the woman said. You walk the water path with a heavy heart. Abini bowed low. My son is trapped, she said. I will give anything to free him. Yemura studied her closely. Even yourself? She asked. Abini did not hesitate. Yes. The river queen nodded. Then you must see what Nkara showed him, Yemura said. Only truth can break a false dream. She lifted her hand. The space around them shifted. They stood inside a round hut made of mirrors. Each wall reflected a different life. Abini stepped closer to one mirror and gasped. In it, Kola sat in a fine house made of stone. His clothes were clean. His hands were unscarred. A gentle voice praised him. You have done enough, the voice said. Rest. In another mirror, Kola stood as a great hunter, honored by kings. In another, he slept under a peaceful sky with no drums, no spirits, no fear. This is what Nkara offered, Yemura said softly. A life without struggle. Abini clenched her fists. And what did my son give in return? She asked. The mirrors darkened. They now showed Kola slowly fading, his body thin, his eyes empty. Each dream pulled a piece of his spirit away. He gave his strength, Yemura replied. And soon, his name. Abini fell to her knees. I failed him, she whispered. I taught him fear. Yemura knelt beside her. You taught him love, she corrected. But you hid your power. Children learn silence as well as words. A deep pain opened in Abini's chest. She had tried so hard to live quietly, to avoid the spirits, to protect her son from the old world. Now that old world had claimed him anyway. What must I do? Abini asked again. Yemira stood. To reach Nkara's heart, you must awaken what sleeps inside you, she said. The gift you refused. The River Queen placed her palm on Abini's forehead. Fire and water rushed through her. Abini screamed, not in pain, but in remembering. She saw the night long ago when ancestors stood in a circle around her, singing her name. She saw symbols carved in light across her skin. She heard drums beating inside her blood. Power rose. When the vision cleared, Abini stood taller. Her eyes glowed faintly. Marks like flowing lines shone on her arms, then faded into her skin. You are a dream walker, Yemira said. One who walks between worlds and returns. The mirrors shattered. Darkness rushed in. The ground shook violently. A roar filled the space, shaking even the River Queen. Nkara comes, Yemira said sharply. He feels your awakening. A crack opened in the air. Red smoke poured out. From it stepped Nkara. He was tall and thin, his body shifting like smoke and shadow. His face changed constantly, old man, child, mother, king. His eyes burned deep red. Abini, he purred. You should have rested. Abini stood firm. You fed on my son's doubt, she said. Release him. Nkara laughed. He came willingly, the spirit said. All tired souls do. He reached out, and the space around them turned heavy. Sleep pressed against Abini's eyes. Memories of pain and loss whispered to her. Rest, they begged. She staggered. Yemira shouted, Stand in truth. Abini closed her eyes and remembered Kola's first cry. His laughter. His fear. I will not sleep, she said loudly. Not while my child fades. The marks on her skin flared with light. The darkness recoiled. Nkara hissed. This is not over, he said. The final gate awaits. He vanished into smoke. The space began to collapse. Light cracked. Shadows fell inward. Yemira grabbed Abini's hand. You must leave now, she said. The mountain of mirrors is broken. The path leads to Nkara's home. Will I see you again? Abini asked. Yemira smiled sadly. If you survive. The river rose and carried Abini upward, faster and faster. As she burst from the water, gasping, she found herself standing at the edge of a black forest. Trees twisted like bones. Red fireflies floated in the air. Far ahead, a tower made of dreams and bones pulsed slowly. Inside it, Kola screamed. Abini stepped forward. The turning point had passed. Now came the war for the soul. The black forest breathed. Each tree bent slightly as Abini entered, their bark creaking like old joints. Red fireflies floated around her, lighting the path with soft, cruel beauty. The air smelled of ash, sorrow, and forgotten promises. Every step pulled at her mind. Whispers rose from the roots. Turn back. You have done enough. Let him rest. Abini pressed her palm to her chest, feeling the steady beat of her heart. She walked on. The tower ahead pulsed slowly, built from bones, broken masks, and sleeping faces frozen in stone. With each pulse, a low sound echoed, like a drum beating under deep water. At the forest center, the path split. To the left, she saw a small village, warm and bright. Fires burned. Laughter filled the air. She saw herself there, older, smiling, with grandchildren around her feet. Peace. To the right, the ground fell away into darkness, leading toward the tower. Her legs trembled. The village felt real. Safe. She took one step toward it. Suddenly, a spear slammed into the ground before her feet. A warrior stood there, an ancestor woman with braided hair and eyes sharp as flint. Her skin glowed faintly, marked with battle scars. Do not insult your blood, the warrior said. That village is built from lies. The fires of the false village flickered, revealing screaming faces inside the flames. The laughter twisted into cries. Abini stepped back, shaking. Thank you, she whispered. The warrior nodded once, then faded into mist. Abini turned toward the darkness. The forest screamed. Branches twisted and grabbed at her wrapper. Roots rose, trying to trap her ankles. Faces pushed out from tree trunks, people she knew. Her husband, long dead, reached for her. "Come back," he begged. "You have suffered enough." Tears blinded her, but she shook her head. "I loved you," she said. "But I will not abandon my son." She tore free and ran. The tower loomed closer, taller now, its walls shifting like living flesh. A door opened by itself, breathing out cold air. Inside, the sound of crying filled the halls. Abini entered. The tower was endless inside, filled with turning corridors and floating stairs. Mirrors lined the walls, each one showing Kola in different stages of sleep. In some, he looked peaceful. In others, he screamed silently. Abini's knees weakened. "Kola," she cried. Her voice echoed, breaking into many voices. Nkara's laughter rolled through the tower. "You are strong, mother," he said, his voice coming from every direction. "But strength bends." The floor vanished. Abini fell. She landed hard on cold stone. Chains of shadow wrapped around her arms and legs, pinning her down. Above her, Nkara formed slowly, his red eyes glowing brighter. "You cannot fight me with love," he said. "Love makes you tired." Abini struggled, but the chains tightened. Then the drums began again. Not outside. Inside her. Boom, boom, boom. The marks beneath her skin burned. She stopped struggling and breathed deeply. "I am not only love," she said calmly. "I am memory." She closed her eyes and sang. It was an old song, taught by elders at birth ceremonies. A song of naming, of calling spirits home. Her voice was low, steady, powerful. The chains cracked. Nkara stepped back, surprised. "No," he hissed. "You buried that song." "I buried fear," Abini replied. She stood. The tower shook violently. Mirrors shattered. Light burst from her skin like dawn breaking through clouds. The chains dissolved. Nkara roared, his shape twisting wildly. "You were meant to sleep," he screamed. "I was meant to wake," Abini answered. The tower began to collapse. Stone and bone fell like rain. Fireflies turned into sparks of light, circling her like a shield. From the broken mirrors, figures stepped out, elders, warriors, mothers, hunters, ancestors, freed from their dreams. They formed a circle around Abini. "She stands in truth," they said in one voice. Nkara shrank, his shadow thinning. "This is not finished," he snarled. "The child still belongs to me." The ground split open. A deep pit appeared, glowing red at the bottom. Inside it, Kola lay curled like a child, bound by threads of smoke. Abini ran to the edge and looked down. "Kola," she shouted. His eyes opened slowly. "Mother," he whispered. "I am here," she said, her voice breaking. "Hold on." She jumped. The fall felt endless. Wind screamed past her ears. Memories flashed, pain, joy, regret, hope. She landed beside her son, knees bending but not breaking. The threads tightened around Kola as Nkara's scream echoed from above. "You cannot take him without paying the price." Abini gathered Kola into her arms. "Then take it from me," she said. The marks on her skin flared brighter than ever. Power poured from her like fire and water combined. The pit shook. Nkara's shadow wrapped around them both, pulling at Abini's spirit. Pain ripped through her. She screamed, not in fear, but in defiance. Above them, the tower continued to fall. The ancestors shouted warnings. The dream world cracked open. As darkness rushed in, Abini held her son tightly. If this was the end, she would meet it as a mother standing tall. And the storm inside her did not fade. The pit roared like an angry beast. Red light rose from below, wrapping Abini and Kola in burning wind. The threads of smoke tightened around Kola's body, cutting into his spirit like sharp rope. He cried out, his voice thin and fading. "Mother, I am tired," he whispered. "It hurts to stay awake." Abini pressed her forehead to his. I know, she said softly. But sleep is not rest when it steals your name. Above them, Nkara's shadow filled the sky of the pit. His many faces twisted, now a gentle woman, now a smiling child, now a kind elder. Let him go, Nkara said sweetly. He chose peace. You chose pain. Abini lifted her head slowly. No, she said. You dressed death in soft words. The shadow laughed, deep and shaking. Then pay, Nkara thundered. Every crossing has a cost. The pit began to close in. The walls moved like living flesh. The heat grew unbearable. The ancestors' voices faded, drowned by the roar of the Dream Eater. Kola clutched her wrapper. Mother, he cried, I am afraid. Abini's heart broke open. She remembered every sacrifice she had ever made, every hunger, every silence, every fear swallowed to protect her child. And she understood. This was the final offering. She looked up into the swirling darkness. Take what you came for, she said firmly. But he walks free. Nkara paused. Red eyes narrowed. You offer yourself? The spirit asked. Abini nodded. My dreams. My rest. My crossing power. Take them. Kola shook his head wildly. No. Mother, no. She smiled at him, soft and full of love. A mother does not bargain with fear, she said. She commands it. The marks on her skin began to fade as light poured out of her and into the pit. The threads around Kola loosened. Nkara screamed in hunger and joy. Yes, he hissed. Yes. Darkness rushed into Abini's chest. Cold spread through her limbs. Her knees weakened. But as her power drained, something else rose. The drums. Not loud. Not fast. Steady. Boom. Boom. The drums of ancestors who had given everything and still stood. From the collapsing walls, hands reached out, not to pull her down, but to lift her. The ancestors returned, glowing bright. This debt is already paid, they said in one voice. Light exploded. Nkara howled as the light burned through his shadow. No, he screamed. She offered herself. She offered love, the ancestors replied. You cannot eat that. The pit shattered. The red glow cracked like broken clay. Wind tore through the dream world. The tower collapsed fully, crashing into dust and smoke. Abini fell backward, clutching Kola. The darkness screamed and folded in on itself. Nkara's voice shrank, fading into the distance. This is not the end. Then silence. They landed gently on cool earth. The black forest was gone. The sky above was deep blue, filled with calm stars. The air smelled clean, like rain on dry ground. Kola lay in Abini's arms, breathing deeply. Mother, he said weakly. I see clearly now. She laughed softly and cried at the same time. You came back, she whispered. That is enough. He sat up slowly, looking around. Where are we? Abini looked around too. They stood at the edge of a Luayan spirit land, where dreams meet waking. The ancestors stood nearby, watching quietly. Yemira stepped forward from the shadows of a river that was no longer glowing, only peaceful. You chose truth over rest, the River Queen said. Few do. Abini bowed her head. Will he be safe? She asked. Yemira nodded. Nkara is broken, she said. Not destroyed, but weakened. He will not touch this blood again. Abini felt the last of her markings fade completely. She swayed. Kola grabbed her. Mother. I am fine, she lied gently. Yemira's eyes softened. The Dream Walker gift is gone, the Queen said. You may never walk the crossings again. Abini smiled tiredly. I walked enough, she replied. The ancestors began to fade, their work complete. Return, Yemira said. Dawn is near. The ground beneath them softened into mist. The stars dimmed. The drums slowed. Abini held Kola's hand tightly as the dream world dissolved. Far away, in the waking world, a fire began to glow again. And breath returned to still lungs. But the price of waking had already been written into her bones. And dawn was waiting. Dawn came softly to Eluayan. The first light touched the roofs of the round mud houses, then slid down the walls like gentle fingers. Roosters crowed. Goats bleated. Smoke rose from early cooking fires. Life returned, slow and ordinary, unaware of how close it had come to losing a mother and a son. Near the old Iroko tree, elders gathered in silence. Abini lay on the ground beside cold ashes, her body still, her face calm. Kola lay beside her, breathing, his chest rising and falling like a newborn's. "She walks between breaths," one elder whispered. "Call her name," said another. "Names anchor souls." They began to chant, low and steady. "Abni, Abni." The sound reached her like a rope. Abini opened her eyes. Light burned, then softened. Pain moved through her bones, deep and dull, but she welcomed it. Pain meant life. She coughed and sat up slowly. Kola cried out, "Mother!" He threw his arms around her, shaking with relief. "I thought you were gone," he sobbed. Abini held him tightly, feeling his warmth, his weight, his reality. "I came back," she said. "So did you." The elders gasped softly. Some fell to their knees. Others touched the earth in thanks. "She has returned from the dream road," the oldest elder said. "And the child with her." Abini did not answer. She felt empty in a new way. Quiet inside. The drums were gone. The markings were gone. The pull of other worlds had closed like a healed wound. She was only a woman again. And that was enough. Days passed. Kola recovered slowly. His eyes were clearer now, but deeper too. He spoke less, listened more. At night, he woke from dreams and held his mother's hand until sleep returned. Abini grew thinner, but her steps were steady. She fetched water. She cooked. She sat with other women and laughed softly. Yet the village had changed. Children stopped playing near the forest at night. Hunters greeted the land with respect before entering. Elders told old stories again, not to frighten, but to remind. One evening, as drums beat gently for a harvest celebration, Kola sat beside his mother by the fire. "I followed the wrong rest," he said quietly. "I thought peace meant escape." Abini nodded, watching the flames dance. "The world teaches us to run from pain," she said. "But some pain shapes us. Some tiredness must be faced, not fed." Kola swallowed. "You gave up something for me," he said. "I feel it." Abini smiled faintly. "A gift is not lost if it saves a life," she replied. The wind moved through the village, warm and kind. For the first time in many nights, it carried no whispers. Seasons turned. Kola grew strong again. He returned to hunting, but never alone. He taught younger boys patience and respect for unseen things. When they laughed too loudly at old warnings, he did not shout. He only said, "Some paths are soft because they are traps." Abini watched him with quiet pride. One night, long after the village slept, she sat by the Iroko tree. The moon was full. Fireflies blinked like small stars. She felt no pull toward dreams. Only peace. A presence stood behind her. Not heavy. Not hungry. Gentle. She did not turn. "You kept your promise," said Yemira's voice, distant like flowing water. "I did," Abini replied. "You gave up power," the River Queen said. "Do you regret it?" Abini thought of Kola's laughter. Of morning light. Of ordinary days. "No," she said. "I chose to stay." The presence faded. Abini smiled and closed her eyes, listening to the night sounds of the living world. Years later, when Abini's hair turned white like ash, children gathered around her fire to hear stories. They asked her about spirits and dreams and the Tower of Bones. She told them this. Do not trust sleep that comes too easily. Do not listen to voices that promise rest without truth. Strength is not never being tired. Strength is choosing to stand when rest asks for your soul. Kola sat nearby, now a father himself, watching his mother with deep respect. The fire crackled. The wind passed. And far away, weakened and forgotten, Nkara drifted without power, unable to feed where love stood awake. Moral lesson. True rest is not escape from life, but courage to face it. Love that stands awake is stronger than any dream that steals your soul.